Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Scribblechat. It's been a hot minute since we did the last one. There are a few reasons for that. I'll get into talking about it, and some other stuff. I feel like I'm already stuttering, just trying to get this started. I had the idea of how I wanted to start this, and then where it's going, and all that. So the main reason I haven't had any episodes lately is I just haven't really been drawing much. So there's not really much to talk about. Added on the holidays, and it's just super busy, as it is for everybody, I'm sure. So currently, I'm just not able to draw that much. And some things that I've been working on, I'll talk about. We had a couple streams actually. Since the last little Scribble chat there, I think we did two or three streams. And I'm still working on the Marvel pitch. And at the same time, I wanted to talk a little bit about that actually. And I remember talking about this in the last stream called. I was going to record a Scribble Chat episode two days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, after the last stream there, just talking about. I was gonna call it the flip flop. It's I don't know. It's a funny thing. I'll talk about it. It'll probably piss some of you guys off. Might piss nobody off. You guys might be in the same boat, or you're like me and you just bounce back and forth. So it's funny. The longer I work on this Marvel stuff, and there's a good reason why I haven't really been making strong movement. Like I say, there is some outside sources that, like, I'm clearly not making drawing a priority. I'm right now, my priority's basically just been on family and getting holiday stuff and settling in at home and all this other, stuff that's not related. Nobody's gonna care about any of that stuff. And then coming home from work and just relaxing. Again, spend time with some family, play some video games, all that kind of stuff. But all that's to say is that it's funny. The downtime always gives me this, and I remember talking about this actually, like maybe a year or two ago. I think when I first started JESOP, which was that when. Okay, so if I've started a project, or I'm currently, like working on one, or coming up with like what to do next with a project, kind of thing, that if I give it any kind of like a break at all, that my mind instantly starts going to the new shiny, right? And that's one of the reasons why I decided to write JESOP and create JESOP King the way that it at the time it was, which is to say, just do it. Worry about like plot holes or like a sweet airtight story, perfect thumbnails, all that stuff. If I waited until I got the skill level that I think would be required in my mind to have, like, at the time what would be like what I might consider a perfect version of it, it would never get done. I would just be sitting around noodling, and that's sort of like what's happening right now. So since I'm not really drawing that much right now, my mind's just going to like, okay, so what are you doing with all this spare time, right? Why are you even like? Don't even worry about the Marvel stuff. Just do Jessup. It's fun. It's more exciting and stuff, right? And so obviously my brain starts going into that territory of the I don't want to say the comfortable and the safe, but there is some truth to that. And I recently have been talking to a couple people and just getting on a huge kick. I talked a little bit about Jordan Peterson before, and I've talked about this before. And this could be just that mind flow of, again, if I don't keep myself busy, my brain starts going into, well, if you're not working, this is why, which isn't true, for me anyway. That's why I wanted to share it with you guys, because I feel like this is something that a lot of people have, where it's for whatever reason, life is busy for some of us, right? Most of us anyway. And if you're not working, it gives your brain time to think about things and rationalize why you're not working, and it could come up with some valid reasons, right? But anyway, the Jordan Peterson, just super quick, if you haven't heard of him or the stuff that he talks about. This one, he's a psychologist, I believe. I always feel like I screw it up, but I'm pretty sure he's a psychologist at the university in Toronto. I don't know if it's got any other special name than that. But he talked about this one thing, and it resonated with me, and I shared it with you guys a bunch of time, which is to say that usually, mostly for men in particular, women, it's not. At least he's found it not to be the case so much. But with dudes, there's a strong minority of men that try to become like the top 120%. Maybe that's not the right way of saying it. 120% effort is put into that one thing in hopes that you'll become part of the elite in that small narrow field and become one of like the top dogs. You know, a great example of this, if you think about it in comics, is, and this is a mantra I've heard over and over again, and maybe it is true. I'm not totally convinced. But when I get into the second part here of talking about the other spectrum, it might be true, which is that if you're putting 120% effort into something, that's like all you do. That's the people that go into doing something and they're doing 70 to 80 hours a week. And you have to do that because other people are doing that. Not everybody, but those people at the top, those cats are doing that, right? So if you're only putting in 30 hours a week, 20 hours a week, and somebody else is putting in 70, 80 hours a week, in his phrasing, he said, like, within 2 years, they're so far ahead of you, you can't make that up, right? And that's definitely something to think about. And it wasn't something that scared me, and I'm not saying that to scare you guys or anything, just some food for thought. Now, the opposite of this, too, is, so you can have that life, right? Or the other life is, like, we'll say 4 to 5 to 6 things in your life that you're 80% good at. And sorry, I'm still fighting a cold here. So he's kind of going back and forth. It's like, you kind of decide the life you want. If you know something you just absolutely love and you want to be the best at it, that's got to be all you do. But if you want a more, and you know, just because that's the way you are, like a workaholic will say, that's not a bad thing. It just has a cost, which is like family and friends and anything other than the thing you do, right? Where on the other side is that 80%, he says in his mind, and I mean there is some truth to it, but I don't think it's a right or wrong. There's no bad or good in this case. Is that 80% spread over 5 different things? Is that you get more of a life. It's a little bit more richer, more fuller, right? Because you can make time for. You might not be the best family member, but you're giving it 80%, right? You might not be the best artist, but you're giving it 80%, you know? And you can make a living doing this stuff too. It's not like you have to be in the 120% or, you know, putting in 80 hours a week to become the best. You don't have to put in like 80 hours a week to get a job in those fields. It's just to be the best in those fields, you have to, because those people are. And I would love to know what your guys' thoughts on that are, and if you know of any artists that don't put in like that kind of crazy amount of hours, that would be great as a little how do I say this, as a counter, not a counter argument, but sort of like that outlier that we can all look to and go like, oh, interesting. How are they able to like make a living doing least amount of work? I know it might sound a little crazy, but I'm interested in it because you got to have the balance, right? There's got to be the crazy workaholics. And there's got to be the, you know, maybe you could work harder side as well. So anyway, tying that in with all this downtime with the thoughts and stuff, and you know, I've said this before, and I made a video talking about this of me going, I don't want to say like down the dark path, that kind of stuff, but you guys remember, and I actually hate talking about it now because I feel like I'm not moving on. It's like I just keep talking about it as if it's like this big shadow that was over me. I was actually I was catching up on a good pal of mine, Sketchcraft, his channel. Go check him out, subscribe, watch his stuff. I was catching up with some of his videos, and I forget how it was. It was like a Q&A, and he started talking about a burnout and just sort of like, I don't know, art direction or whatever, and I got brought up because of what I was going through and talking about with this stuff, and it was funny because it's cool. I haven't had a chance to have a Skype talk with them in a long time. I'm hoping to be able to do that probably in the new year, the way the end of this year's wrapping up. Just, you know, shoot the shit with some art friends, and he was hitting the nail on the head quite a bit, but he was off in some other areas. But all in all, it was that thing, you know, and this is the debate that I keep having in the flip-flop stuff, right? That I'm saying that I'm going back and forth with is, I don't think that you have to be working 80 hours a week to work at, like, let's say Marvel, okay? On the other side, of course, there's people working that and more, and they're probably doing well, or, you know, that's the life that they're in. They're doing their thing. The other side of it, of me, is like, you know, I really enjoy just drawing comics from time to time, and I realize that's coming from a different side of, you know, working 8 to 10 hours a day, and then coming home to somehow fit relaxing. And for me anyway, I know like drawing sometimes can be relaxing to zone out, but it's not something that I look to just sort of like, whew, What a long day. I'm just going to sit down and do some comics. It used to be like that, and I wonder if this is just mostly an age thing or whatever. But it's just some stuff I'm tossing around, and again with the flip-flop crap, I realized how this could play right into the well, John, you did the Doctor Doom pitch, and then you pulled out of that. Now you came back, and you're jumping back into the Marvel thing, and now you're sounding like you're walking out of that. I'm taking this now as some warning signs that my brain is giving me, And I'm still going to finish the Spider-Gwen. I just think that it's obviously going to be taking longer. I'm not I wouldn't say I was stressed, but I was definitely putting it at the top of the hierarchy of priority. But with the holidays and stuff, I feel like this gives me a little bit of leeway that the deadline, not that they gave me one, is a little bit more lax. So probably within the first 2 weeks, I'll say, I'll have that done. And then I can just dive full into JESOP King. And I'm super excited to get back into that because the thing is with Sketchcraft Rob was talking about this too, And I honestly, and I do not deny this, and I fully agree with it, and I try to encourage it with you guys and ladies out there too, is that really focus on just doing personal work. If your day job is working for a comic book company, you're probably not going to be doing comics in your spare time. You might, right? But you're probably not. So if you're like me and like a bajillion, quadrillion other people that are working some job that's not comics, and when you come home and it's hard to make comics, right? Like it takes a lot of time. This is that one trick that I highly recommend some of you think about, is that maybe for you, comics is that medium that you relax in and you want more of that in your life and you enjoy it, and it's your movies, it's your video games, it's your hanging out with friends. That's your thing, right? I recommend really pulling back on your style so that you can actually hammer out pages in an orderly time without necessarily looking at like comparing yourself to, let's say, anybody working at Marvel or DC and going like, Jesus, look at how they draw. Well, if I got to get a job like them, if I want a job like they do, or feel like you need to have a certain style to have a certain weight as a professional or be considered a professional, like they have all day to draw, right? And most of us don't. And if you don't, then the time that you do have, and this is just something to think about. I don't want to say this is gospel here, but something to think about is to reduce your style to something that's super enjoyable, but that you can still get content out. Okay, I'm not going to be the guy to say that's you have to do that and that's your guaranteed way to success. And I'm not going to say that just screw what I just said and go your own route and put in the 80 hours it takes, which you might have to scrounge a month to get a page done. You know what I'm saying? You do you. I'm just suggesting from some of the experience I found, and that's why I talked about this in the stream, and I brought it up with you guys before. JESOP looks the way it does. It's not an 11 by 17 piece of Bristol that I draw on. It's 8.5 by 11 for some other reasons as well, but it's smaller, less panels, less shadow work, less rendering. I know I'm putting up, I color it, so that adds more time, but the whole package, all in all, it is less time, and that's what I found works for me. And that's why, again, just to bring it back to the Spider-Gwen sample, is that I'm drifting away from it, as in like I'm not interested in doing this thing because I know where it's going. It's going to Marvel, right? And I want to put my best foot forward with the caveat that I'm also just going, you know what? I'm not going to give what I assume I need to give, which is that 8 to 20 hours a page. I'm going to give like a JESOP style, if that makes any sense to to you guys at all, and see what happens. If it's basically just knocking on a door, if somebody's there to have a conversation, then great. If not, it's 5 pages, right? You live once. May as well, you never know unless you try. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up with that. I know this one was all over the place, but I don't know if anyway, just to wrap this up, like I was going to say, I don't know if there's going to be another episode until January. So I really wanted to get this out now because these next couple weeks are just brutal with work, and hey, it's Christmas. It's the holiday season, right? You gotta have some time. You gotta make some time in the year to really hang out with family and stuff like that. And I really enjoy the end of the year because it lets me just sort of do just that, as well as sort of I'm a big fan of planning, at least in some regard. So what's coming up as well is a lot of people get into New Year's resolutions and stuff. So I think in January we'll talk a little bit about where I'm going to go with that, because I just like having the discussion, and I'm interested in what you guys are doing, what your big plans are, or like something you'd like to achieve in the new year and stuff like that, right? So December's always been, my birthday's at the end of December as well, so it's always been like this calm, slow down, go back to what it was kind of like being a kid, you know, family again, video games, eating too many cookies, you know, gain 50,000 pounds, all that, all that good stuff. But if I don't make another episode until then, I wish you guys all happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all that good stuff. If you like snow, I hope it's pouring snow where it is. If you hate snow, hey, hope you have a pretty relaxed Christmas, okay, and all that good stuff. I'll talk to you guys soon. There'll probably be some streams popping up that were pre-recorded. I don't think I'm going to be putting much out there right now. But until then, anyway, you guys, Happy New Year as well. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Insert happy whatever the hell you need to hear, so you're not offended here. That's just for my social justice warrior friends out there. But anyway, I love you guys. Keep reading comics. Keep making comics. I'll talk to you all very soon. And I will see you in the new year. Okay, take care, guys. Bye-bye.